This is the Truly NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Daniel Garrett. With me is Mitch Wolfe. Mitch, how you doing today?
Doing well. I'm excited to talk about this quarterback class. It's a lot different than this past year's. I would say it's even pretty different than the year before, where you had five guys go in the first round, uh, all in like the top 12. So I don't know if we're going to get to that point, especially if a lot of the guys we expect to go back end up going back. But it's a very deep class, a lot of experienced players, a lot of guys that we've had our eyes on for multiple years now, and even some guys that have kind of popped out of nowhere to be interesting players. So I also think and slash hope that this is kind of the start of the cycling out of a lot of the backup quarterbacks we've seen in the NFL for the last 5 to 10 years, because I think this class has a lot of those guys that could supplant the Case Keenums, the Nick Mullenses of the world. Kind of start getting those guys out. And let's get some new backup QBs in. Let's get some new faces.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a lot of developmental guys too in there where you're going to want them to be rostered, but they're not immediate starters. So
Yeah.
but they're worth actually developing, which is a good change.
Yeah. I want to start with, we talked about this before the show, but I want to start off with the two guys that are probably arguably the most developmental in this class. And we both expect them to go back. We did watch a bit of them, but that's Arch Manning from Texas and Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee, now at UCLA, of course. And these guys are both redshirt sophomores this year, and I expect both of them to go back. Nico, obviously, coming out of that wonky Tennessee offense where he was good against bad teams, mid to bad against good teams. Arch had 2 starts, less than 100 dropbacks. So for Nico, I felt that it was just all so slow, in his pocket presence and poise was just so poor. I actually liked him a lot as on the bootlegs they would do when he would be on the move. I thought he played pretty well in those situations. Obviously, he's big. He's a great athlete. Has a strong arm. I don't know if it's a good arm. He's still locking in the accuracy, especially deep. So I totally get the tools. I just think that offense is a nightmare, and I think he just wasn't getting it. And you saw him just stare down receivers. You'd see him make some impressive throws, but just the way he has no sense of what's going on in the pocket and would lock down on receivers, it was just a major issue.
Yeah, he was definitely interesting. He was one where I thought you see the physical tools with him, but just in terms of everything between footwork, between needing to quicken up the release a little bit. It was quick at times, but then there were other times where it was not. His pocket presence needs a lot of work. He's a good athlete with a good arm, but it's not even the best at either of those things in this class. So it's not like a situation where he's going to be the best tools quarterback in this class. Like there's definitely guys with better tools than him. So I want him to be pretty well developed when he comes out because he has, like a minus arm and like B minus athleticism. Like it's
I think with him it's like the speed is there, you see that, and kind of the change of direction in space, but just because he's so long and his legs are so long, that the quick twitch change of direction is a bit lesser just because it takes him a while to move his long legs, which it is what it is. With Arch,
and we'll see the exact opposite of that with a couple of these guys later in this class. They're just tiny.
Yeah, but with Arch, again, very small sample size, working in an offense that is exceptionally well designed and working with a great supporting cast. You're kind of like, okay, how much of this is really him? And you watch the 2 starts, and granted, it's against UL Monroe, who's a pretty badass Sun Belt team, and Mississippi State, who's quote unquote an SEC team. But you saw in those 2 starts him take a big step from the first to the second, and the physical talent, the mental acuity, just the feel for the position you all see are very much there. And I think it is hard to watch him and separate out the fact that he is a Manning and that he has all this behind him. But at the end of the day, you kind of can't count that as anything but a positive, because he's going to approach the game the right way. And for that reason, that's why I think he's going to go back for another year after this year. But I do see a world where he just lights the world on fire this year. It's like, well, I have nothing really else to prove, and if I go back, I might just get hurt. So there's really no reason for me to go back into the year. So I don't think it'll happen, but I could see it if everything clicks.
Yeah, I mean the things that I saw looking at him again, it's a very limited sample size, but when you look at him, decision making needed some
Mm-hmm.
improvement. I thought going through his progressions, he needed work, and then I thought he could use just a little bit more work in terms of cleaning up the consistency in his footwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'll improve his accuracy as well, especially on short and intermediate throws. And I think if he cleans that up, I think he's a top 5 pick at the quarterback position. It's just he needs to clean it up. I'm not sure if he will in a single year. If
Mm-hmm.
he does, if he can clean up all 3 of those, I think he can come out, but there's no rush on it. So it's make sure you get all of those things cleaned up before you even think about coming out. Because
Yeah.
there's no reason for him to be the 27th pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think with him though, you know, even with that, there's plenty of throws in those 2 games where the accuracy and placement is just really stellar. And even sometimes the guys would drop it, but man, there were
Yeah.
some really impressive throws on there. So
Oh yeah.
it's yeah. So like I had him as like a mid round 2 right now, but obviously very easy for him to progress into being a top 5 pick within a year. All right, let's start from the bottom. So the guy who's last on my list, and I can't believe I'm even going to waste time talking about him, is Rocco Becht from Iowa State.
And even watch them.
Don't bother. 6'1", 215, which is absolutely a lie. He's a redshirt junior. He's going to his 3rd year as a starter. And there's just nothing
Now,
that's even above it. That's even average about him, I would say.
now is that Cole? Is he still the backup there at Iowa State? Because he's a year younger and he was a high 4 star. I remember him coming out. He was a high 4 star. I'm wondering if he's still the backup there because he was one where it was a developmental, all the tools, but was a big
I
developmental curve. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if there's a chance that if Cole is still the backup hit and he actually finally hits going into year 3, if we
Hmm.
see him maybe take the job, if
Yeah.
that's the case.
I'm not sure. I just really was not impressed by what Becht was doing just because it's this offense it's designed to not ask him to do much, and even then, it's just a struggle. Like he's fine in quick game, he's fine in RPOs. If he has no pressure whatsoever when a receiver is wide open, like on a fade ball or a wheel, he can hit them. But so many times he's just not getting through his progressions quickly enough. He's kind of quick. He can make some plays with his legs, but you just see it's like this is not going to work at the NFL level when he's probably a 6 foot at best, 210 pounds at best. You're going to see him getting killed, and you don't even see him anticipate throws very well. So, and with his lack of arm strength, it's just not going to work in the NFL. So I don't really see him as anything beyond a late day 3 pick, unless. And again, maybe it's his 3rd year starter. Maybe he rapidly improves that mental processing goes up, and he's able to just make decisions much more quickly. Then maybe we're talking about a day 3 guy, but I just don't really see any physical tools that are going to be worth taking a chance on. When I watched him, the names that came to mind were like Ian Book and Nick Mullins. And I'm just not really sure that's worth spending anything higher than a 6th-round pick. So that was my so who was your last guy? I think you were muted.
Oh, Fafita was my last guy. I
Okay.
had a UDFA grade.
Okay. I didn't
Uh,
watch him, and I think these guys are probably pretty similar if I had to guess.
yeah, UDFA grade on him. Then a guy in a similar range to where you had back for me would be Miller Moss from
Okay.
Louisville. Just wasn't the biggest fan of him. Thought he had some accuracy issues. Thought he was an okay decision maker. Uh, I thought he needed to work on his pocket presence and his pocket manipulation. I thought he had average to below average arm strength, and I thought he was a guy where it is a career backup if he
Mm-hmm.
hits. I just don't think he has any of the physical tools to really be a starter. I mean, if best case scenario, you'd be looking at like I don't know, like what who is the guy for the Texans with
Keenum?
Kubiak?
Oh,
No,
Matt
well,
Schaub?
Yeah, I think that's like the best case scenario for him. I think he's a little bit more athletic than Schaub was, but I
Mm,
don't think he's a great athlete. I think for what Schaub was in that version of the NFL,
hmm
they're about the same. I just think quarterbacks are more mobile now, but I think where Schaub ranked mobility wise back then is about where Miller Moss would rank now. I just don't think he's a very mobile quarterback for the modern game. I don't think he has any good traits. I think his best chance is to get into a Shanahan scheme and probably be a career backup.
So I actually liked Moss a little more. I had him 13th, and I had him as a like early day three, but nothing like crazy. I think I just liked his floor a little bit more as kind of that point guard distributor quarterback. I mean, my names I had down from Brian Hoyer and Gardner Minshew, so nothing crazy. But he has, I'll bring this up with a lot of guys, but he did have the issue where he would stare down his receivers, like you mentioned about the pocket presence. He'll hang in there and he'll take hits, but sometimes he doesn't need to. So I think that's a bit of a problem. But I thought his arm strength showed up in velocity more than distance. Like he's not going to, bomb it down the field, but I thought he had some decent velocity, ability to get to the boundary on intermediate throws, and I thought he was one of the better ones in terms of in the quick game, not staring down his receivers and getting through his reads quickly. So I agree with you there on the backup part, having the high floor. I think I just saw it that way a little more, whereas some of the other guys, there were a lot more problems that I found. So I like Moss a little more than that. Did I have him in my superlatives? I had him actually as my best quick game guy. I thought that was, especially like relative to some of the other guys, I thought that was just his best thing. And I thought that's where, again, it's limited. You're not going to expect him to be a starter, but I like him as a long term backup. Again, in the Case Keenum kind of mold. Um, a few more guys I had really lower ranked. I think these are two names that'll be interesting to talk about together. Are Carson Beck and Connor Wegman. They're my 20th and 21st. And when I initially watched Carson Beck, I liked him more than I thought I would. I thought he was actually willing to attack the middle of the field more than a lot of these other guys. I thought he had some good velocity on throws. I think he's a decent mover, nothing crazy. But I think also his confidence just got completely ruined this year. I think that offensive line was a bit of a mess. I watched him as 2023, and you can see just how much more comfortable and confident he is when he has Brock Bowers and Lad McConkey to throw to, as opposed to Arian Smith and the guys they had this year, which, in the NFL, you're going to face better competition too. But I think that was a big issue. I think he really struggled to deal with pressure, couldn't really win outside of structure. So, and obviously there's a lot of off field stuff with him, with just how he's acting. How much does he really care about football? So it's really low for me, but I'm like, if everything clicks, maybe he could be something, but I just don't know if he really wants it enough to be that kind of player.
I have backed a little bit higher, but not a whole lot. Who was the other guy you were
Oh,
saying?
Connor Wegman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have Wegman. He was my next guy
Okay.
actually, but I
Yeah.
do have a bit of a gap between him and Beck. I like Beck a little bit more just because I think we're
For
they
context,
both
I have Beck as a round 5 guy and Wegman as a 6. So there is a gap there, but I think they're interesting to talk about in conjunction.
okay. I have Beck as a 4,
Okay.
and yeah, Wegman as a 7. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit more of a gap just because I'm a round higher on one, round lower on
hmm
the other, but
hmm
I feel like we probably see them fairly similar. I just
Yeah.
thought that the fact that I thought both did struggle with accuracy and with ball placement, and I
hmm
just thought Beck has a better chance to get to be passable there.
For
I
sure.
don't think Wegman, unless there's a miracle, can really get to being passable in terms of accuracy and ball placement. They both have good physical tools. I like
hmm
Wakeman's physical tools better, probably. Um,
Yeah, I
at
can see
least
that.
mobility wise and running as
I think
well.
with
He's
Beck, you
a
just worry
lot
about
better.
him. With Beck, you worry about him getting speared and being broken in half just how skinny he is. Like, at least Wegman, maybe he's just wearing the flak jacket, but he just looks thicker. And even though he's allegedly like
Yeah,
10 pounds lighter, but he just looks better built
yeah,
for sure.
I agree with that. But I think Beck has a higher likelihood of
hmm
actually uh, being able to be passable. I don't think he will ever be the supremely accurate
No.
quarterback, but I think there's a chance where, you know, as that fourth round pick, you're looking for a guy who can play 4 games and you can try to hit some explosives with him
Mm-hmm.
and try to make a passable offense out of it when he's a backup is kind of where I think he's
Yeah.
at.
My crazy high comp for him was like if everything clicks, it's Jared Goff. Just because, like,
I
you
don't
think about
think he has quite the arm strength,
no,
but
probably
I
not.
think it's close
It's yeah, but it
enough
just in
to
terms of like
where
usage and like again, I do like his ability to attack the intermediate field. Sometimes he does miss those robbers and gets picked off, but it's like, hey, they fooled you. It happens. You're trying some. With Wegman, my comp for him was have you seen the original Top Gun?
yeah,
So
yeah.
my comp for him is Cougar, the guy who loses the edge at the beginning of the movie. Just because I think he's just gotten hurt too much and hit too much that he just holds on to the ball too long, and like everything needs to be perfect for him. Like he kind of in that way he kind of reminds me of Kenny Pickett, where he wants to run around a little bit if it's not there, but it's like sometimes you got to grip it and rip it, and he just doesn't really do that. So maybe he gets that fixed a little. But yeah, I think, but I think you're right. We do see them similarly. So who's your? So let's see. You've said Fafita, Wegman, and then you said you had Beck a little higher. So who is your next guy?
Yeah, so Fafita, Moss, Wegman. My
Go
next guy
Moss.
is Diego Pavia. Uh, I think this is just I don't know if he's a quarterback, but if
Yeah.
he is, I think he's a guy where you throw him as that backup where it's
Mm-hmm.
a we know our offense isn't going to be very good. Let's just try to get this run game to be excellent. Let's
Mm-hmm.
just have a running quarterback out there who, in a pinch, I can have him come in and run the read option. I can have him come in and maybe work some quick game. He's not going to have a good arm. He's not going to be the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, even without having a good arm, but he's athletic enough to where there's a chance and we're still talking fifth round
Yeah, sure.
was where I have him. Like so, but I just think there's a chance that he can be a long term career backup.
Yeah, I did not watch him, but if you watch enough college football, you can kind of just live copy. You can kind of get it. If I were for me, I think I would probably take him. I would definitely take him above Becht. I don't know about probably I'd take him above Wegman. Beck, I would probably have to think about it. Depending on kind of, I guess it would depend on my quarterback room. Like if I don't have that kind of guy, and maybe I do want to add some explosiveness. If I have an older quarterback and I want to kind of add a QB run game in the red zone or something like that, that'd be interesting. Um, Kind of a Taysom Hill arc, you think, for him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not going to ever be there at tight end, but definitely someone where where if you have him as a position change player,
Mm-hmm.
you can do some fun stuff with him. I don't
Yeah.
really know where he fits outside of receiver. I think that's the only
Mm,
place you
yeah.
can position change him, just size wise.
Yeah.
Uh, I do think he has enough to where I could see him sticking as a backup quarterback. I don't think he ever has a chance to ever start, but
No.
I do think he can stick second or maybe even practice squad guy, especially on those teams where, you want someone to either be a change of pace where you can't run the ball at all with your quarterback, or you have a running quarterback, don't want to lose that part of your game.
Mm-hmm.
I just think there's enough teams out there that would want someone to, just be. They have that travel quarterback now where you can have the guy who doesn't count for your roster spot. So I definitely think he has a chance to be that level of quarterback. I just don't really see much more than that, but I liked it enough to where I would probably take him over Wegman, even though Wegman's upside is way higher.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to look up how old he is or he's going to be so he will turn 25 the weekend of the draft next year. So I was
Oh,
just curious,
yeah.
but yeah, 60207 official. So yeah, that's probably a wide receiver. You're probably not going to get away with him being running back. So what number was Pavia for you?
If you're not including the two guys that we think are going back and Manning and Imalava,
Mm-hmm.
he was 13.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a few more just to get caught up here. Actually, and these two guys I have graded exactly the same, and I think they're very similar players. And they're round 4, round 5 ish. I have at 19 Haynes King and at 18 Mark Gronowski from previously South Dakota State and now at Iowa. And these are both graduate student quarterbacks, played a good bit of ball, used a lot as runners. Haynes King more so used as a quick game passer. Gronowski a little bit of everything. But I think what these guys bring is leadership and mobility. And I think that gives you a high floor and toughness. I think that gives you a high floor as a backup. King, I think he's a better athlete than a lot of people would give him credit for. I remember a few years ago when I was watching him, I didn't think there was a lot, but then he had a really good running game. And he's made a lot of plays that way. I think, again, he's kind of the type where it does need to be perfect for him to hit intermediate and deep. But if you give him a strong running game to work in, he can work off that. Gronowski has progressed a decent bit, kind of previously just being this like almost Tebow type for South Dakota State. With him, I just thought it's going to be interesting to see how he plays at Iowa, because the window is going to close a lot faster. When you're at South Dakota State, you've got a lot of talent around you. You're usually playing against teams that are worse than you. And he'll have the thing where he's waiting a bit for guys to come open. He misses a decent amount of easy throws in the short intermediate area. I'm not sure he's that great outside of structure, actually throwing on the move. And basically for him, I thought he's not going to lose your games, but I think he's going to leave a lot of plays on the table that could help you win games. And so for King, my comps were like a Mitch Trubisky, Josh Dobbs type. It's more so the latter, I guess. And Gronowski, kind of Sam Ellinger vibes for me, where he can give you a little bit of something, but not a ton. And I think watching him, he was very reminiscent of what Jalen Hurts is doing, obviously at a much lower level and not as dynamic of an athlete, but you see it where they just run the ball, 5-7 yards every down. And it's like, all right, we've gotten this 5 plays in a row. Let's hit him over the top of the deep play action. The guy's wide open. So I will be interested to see how that carries over to playing against Big Ten defenses. And they have a pretty tough schedule. So I imagine it's going to be a bit of an up and down effort for him, which is why I'm not super high on him.
Yeah, I did not watch King, but I have Gronowski a little bit higher here.
Okay.
I'm going to finish out my sub top 10 guys. So I have 12 and 11 left. I have Byron Brown at 12, the USF quarterback. I think a lot of what we said with Nico applies here, obviously being in that similar offense. I do like him a little bit more. I mean, comparing the two, I think his accuracy is just a little bit better at this point in time. He is a year older as well, but I think he is a little bit more accurate. I think honestly, I like him a little bit more as a runner. Just he looks more thickly built, where I think he can hold up better there. I don't necessarily think he is better there. I think they're pretty similar, but I trust him to actually hold up over the course of a season in the NFL. Whereas Nico, I just think he's a little bit too skinny to actually be using him in the run game. And I think my biggest difference between two is ball placement. I didn't think Byron Brown was anything exceptional there, but I think he's a pretty average there in terms of ball placement. But I thought that was Nico's biggest weakness. And just, again, just comparing the two, since they were playing in pretty much the same offense. But yeah, I think he is a guy where it's tough, because I don't think he has enough physical tools where you can take him super early and actually want to develop him. But he is so far away where I don't know if a team that drafts him in the 4th round is going to actually invest enough development time to get him to be a starter. And I think that's a chance where he just washes out the NFL, because he's far enough away, but he just doesn't have the tools to actually warrant that full-on development. It's going to be a tough road, which is why long term I think Nico's probably going to end up better, just because he has the extra year of college still. He has 2 years left of college versus Brown only having the 1.
Yeah, you kind of explain why I didn't really watch him. Just because I'm just like, coming off this year where he gets hurt, he's playing against G5 competition, he's playing this offense that, is not real. So I'm just, if it all works this year, I'll come back to him, but I'm just not ready to move forward with that. So he was 12, and then who was your 11?
John Mateer from
Okay, I think
Oklahoma.
I have Mateer 12, so we see him pretty similarly. But you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, good athlete for what he is. I'm going to be interested to see if he can do what he did uh, against a lot of Mountain West teams,
Mm-hmm.
some lower end power
Mm-hmm.
conference schools, but a lot of G5 schools he was playing, and he was just out athleting a lot of guys in space there. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see if he can do that in the SEC. Um, I thought he had okay accuracy. I thought he was an okay decision maker. There wasn't a whole lot where it was something I loved. I thought his biggest weakness is the arm strength. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's an NFL level
Yeah.
arm, to be honest with you. And that's realistically, I thought he was okay at enough. His footwork needs a lot of work as well. That was a big thing, but between footwork and arm strength, I just don't really think he can ever be an NFL starter. Even if he cleans up the footwork, I don't really think he has the arm for it. I don't think he's athletic enough
Mm-hmm.
to really warrant being just a running quarterback. And I just think he's going to be a long term backup, a lot like I saw with Pavia, just a better thrower of the football.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, with him, the way he wants to play, being that outside of the pocket, outside of structure creator, you probably need to have a stronger arm to do that so you can actually drive the ball to the intermediate and deep parts of the field when you are operating outside of structure and outside the pocket. So I'll come back to him and I'll probably echo a lot of the same points, but I'll
for me,
go ahead.
too many crossbody throws.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Too many off-platform throws for someone that doesn't have the arm strength to where he isn't really driving the ball even on platform. So I just don't understand why he wants to be off platform so much with how weak that arm is. I just don't think you can get away with that when the athletes get better. And we'll see that this year, a little bit of a jump up. Definitely not the
Huge.
NFL competition,
It's
but
huge. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, now that you bring that up, I'm just going to say it because when I watched him, and this is going to sound crazy, but he plays like Mahomes. He wants to play like Mahomes, but he does not have the Mahomes arm, or the really, he's a different type of athlete than Mahomes. But I think Mahomes, maybe a more well-rounded athlete, more position appropriate athleticism, I guess. And that also kind of, so that's obviously like that's not really what he's going to be, but that's just kind of reminder of what his play style is. But realistically, he probably ends up being more towards like a Malik Willis type.
Yeah. I wrote if Matt Stafford was stuck in a skinny right-handed Tua's body.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay, yeah, I see that.
but it's just he doesn't even have Tua's arm. It
No.
it would be a little different if we were talking about that level of arm strength, but he doesn't even have a Tua level arm. It's just if he was to go into the NFL and start games, he would be one of the weakest arm quarterbacks out there, depending on who it is. I think honestly, in terms of arm strength, it's in that Bailey Zappi tier. I
Okay,
think it's a
yeah,
real issue.
yeah. Okay. I'm gonna get caught up to you with my guys in the teens. So 16 for me was Sawyer Robertson from Baylor. Weird athlete, or weird player, big athletic dude. I like his spiral a lot. I don't think anybody in this class there was a better slot fade. I will say that that is really good. But he plays on his tiptoes. He has this weird, long, over the top release, which is really bad. It gives defenders time to catch up to the ball. And he does make some bad decisions where it's just really head scratching. Like, why are you putting this ball in harm's way? You really don't need to. I think he's a very good runner. Kind of gave me some of the the Daniel Jones runs where he somehow breaks the second level and is just chopping. But this was the sicko comp I texted you about. He reminded me a lot of Anthony Gordon, the Washington State quarterback from a while ago, which is like a super deep cut for draft people. But that's kind of who he reminded me of, where he is kind of this air raidy quarterback but he's bigger. He's 6'4", 220 at least, or that's what he's listed as. And he can do some stuff where he creates out of structure. He gets outside the pocket because he does have a decently big arm, but he's just too inconsistent in the pocket. Doesn't really know how to read a defense. I think a lot of this stuff could be improved this year. I'm just not sure if that offense is really the best for him to do it. So we'll see what happens with him. So he's 16, sticking in Texas, 15 is Baron Morton from Texas Tech. Pretty similar to Miller Moss for me. He's a little bigger than Moss. I think he's again very good in the quick game, but he also has a real issue with staring down the receivers, throwing over the middle too late. He also has a concerning injury history. Just some stuff I think with his shoulder in the offseason, so that's concerning. And he, again, kind of like you said with Moss, doesn't really have that good pocket presence. Like, he kind of reminds me of Garrett Nussmeier, who we'll talk about later, but just everything is watered down. So for me, he was kind of a Sam Howell, Chase Daniel-ish type. So I like him a decent bit, again, as like a long-term backup, but not sure he needs more than that. 14 for me was Kyron Drones, Virginia Tech. Reminds me a lot of college Dak Prescott. Kind of a bigger quarterback, very good runner. Drones probably has a bigger arm, and he's probably a more explosive athlete, maybe. But that offense is a nightmare. It's all RPOs and play action, and like slants, screens, slide routes. He like never throws over the middle. I don't think he really knows how to read a defense because of that. It's all threes and layups. But the size and mobility gives him a high floor that you can, again, kind of like we talked about with Pavia, you can use him in that way. Miller Moss, 13, we talked about him. John Materis, 12, we talked about him. Number 11 for me is Jalen Daniels from Kansas. I liked him a lot more than I thought I would. But for me, he kind of just reminded me of Mateer, but he had a better arm, was more athletic, and it's the Big 12, but he's playing against better competition. And he does have some of those head-scratching decisions, but I thought he could really drive the ball. I thought the accuracy fades deeper down the field, obviously, and he does throw to some. There's sometimes he just throws to a guy who's blanketly covered, and I just don't really know why he's doing that. But he can make plays out of structure. He can punish defenses as a runner. He is smaller. He's 6'2", 220. But again, like kind of like another Malik Willis type, but I thought he was smarter than Malik Willis. So maybe you can get him to a Tyrod Taylor kind of level. So I liked him. I thought I was going to be really low on him as always just like a running back, but he was pretty good. And so I'm hoping to see him continue to progress this year, second year in that post Kotelnicki era. And ideally he can stay healthy because he had some very troubling injury concerns early in his career with his back. So he started all 12 games this year. So hopefully he stays healthy, gets a little better with that. And then you're talking again, an early day 3 pick, but a guy that you can come in and again, add that dimension to your offense and, maybe develop into a starter. Probably not, but crazier things have happened. You are muted.
So that's everybody up to 10 for you, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, now for me, the next few guys we have are still 4th round guys.
Okay.
Which is probably going to surprise some people on at least one of the names. One of the names will surprise some people of how low I have him, but we already talked about him, Carson Beck. He's my number 10 quarterback.
Okay.
So I'll go straight to 9 for me. Aiden Shiles.
Okay.
He is a long ways away.
That's
very
true.
long ways away. I think he's another guy. He should come back. I like him more than Nico.
Yeah, 100%.
I think of the true juniors. Honestly, he's probably honestly, of the true juniors, I would put him like top 5.
Yeah, for sure.
Levitt. I forgot about Levitt. He's technically a sophomore, but he's eligible. But yeah, he's definitely a good quarterback, a good developmental quarterback. He's very inaccurate at the moment. One thing I noticed, he has a super wide base, and
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't love it.
No, I
do not love it.
Exact same thing. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So he's 7 for me.
Okay.
With him, he was a high 3rd round pick for me actually, and I was again very skeptical going in, just looking at his numbers. He has a ton of turnover worthy plays, ton of turnovers. But he cleaned that up a lot later in the year. And he also had a really tough schedule in the middle of the year where they played Ohio State, Oregon, Iowa, Michigan, Penn State, Illinois, like all in a row, where it was just a
Yeah,
nightmare.
my only thing is it's going to be interesting to see. Did he uh, clean that up, or was he just playing significantly worse competition? Um,
Oh, you mean this
because
year?
after that,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
be
I also
interested
think
to see because he like you said, he played great competition there at the end. I don't know off the top of my head what their schedule is going to be, but I can't really see it being
it's a lot
that
easier.
tough.
They don't because I think they still catch Penn. I think they obviously get Michigan again. I
Yeah.
think they get Penn State again, but I think they dodge Oregon. They might actually dodge Ohio State. Um, and they'll play. I think they play either Indiana or Illinois again, but one of them and not both. And you know they're probably be a little bit
They
worse.
play Indiana.
Okay, so then I think they miss Illinois. I think they switch out one of them for USC, whose defense is up
Yeah.
and down. But yeah, so I
Yeah, I
liked.
mean the only tough defenses I really see on here. I mean, who knows about Indiana, but Michigan, Penn State, and Iowa.
Yeah, yeah, and
Like,
they actually beat Iowa last year, which was surprising. But I think that's
yeah,
just as Iowa ran out of quarterbacks at that point. But for me, like I just saw a very good athlete. The arm is crazy. I just wrote make some uniquely incredible plays, but also some uniquely boneheaded decisions. Where, and I think maybe sometimes he was just trying to do too much. And I thought to go with your point about the base, I think that he is so long and so high cut that the length almost leads to issue with his release and his footwork. Where when he does have that wide base, it's because his legs are so long that it takes him a long time to just move anywhere. Um, and I think for him, it's just like get this guy more reps, reading defenses, get him a passable offensive line, one that isn't absolute garbage. And again, I think he got better over the course of the season. So I liked him more than I thought I would. So I have him as a high third rounder at 7. For me, 10 was Luke Altmaier from Illinois. Again, liked him a little bit more than I thought I would, but he's still in that backup tier, like early day 3 for me. He's listed at 6'2", 205. I very much doubt that. He looks pretty skinny. He gets thrown around a bit. For me, he was kind of basically if you hybridize Jackson Dart and Bryce Young, and just everything was in the midpoint of the two of them, where he's a little smaller. He can run a decent bit, but he's not great at it. He's got a good arm, not a great arm. He's obviously taller than Bryce Young, who isn't. I thought he was pretty accurate to most areas of the field. He will hold on to the ball too. He will hold on to the ball too long sometimes, and then he'll take some bad sacks, and he gets jittery in the pocket. So you can see that kind of develop as the game goes on, which is concerning. But I thought he was one of the better ones at creating outside of structure, where he was moving and throwing to the sideline or back over the middle where a guy was open. He would see that. He's gotten a lot better. He had a lot of game-winning drives this year, which I was impressed with, like late in the game, making big plays, making big throws. So that was good. I liked him a decent bit. Again, I'm not sure what his ceiling is. I am a little worried that his floor is Matt Corral, but I think he's a decent little player. And I think he could be something where, again, like you draft him as a backup and maybe guy in front of him gets hurt. He starts being like, oh, this guy's got something. So I liked him a little bit. So your 9 was Child. So my 9 was Sam Levitt. And I think this is a guy who needs to go back more than anybody, honestly, maybe besides Nico. Because I was watching a Daft on Draft, which is Corey Kinnan and Dalton Miller. And I think it was Dalton who said, Sam Levitt plays football like he's on meth. And I couldn't agree more with that because everything he does that's good is outside of structure. And he's a good athlete. He's got a pretty good arm, but he just does not read the defense or make decisions in structure. It's just get out of the pocket and make some stuff happen. And it's crazy, but it's just like, oh man, we can't do and so my compliment, I think this name is going to come up a lot. Actually, he is basically Auburn Bo Nix at this point. And ironic because Kenny Dillingham is his coach. Kenny Dillingham coached Bo Nix at Oregon, and I think at Auburn. If am I remembering that correctly, or did that not happen?
I don't think so.
I thought he was there for like a hot minute. Let me look that up. But anyways,
His
the point is,
was
yes, But as an offense coordinator, I meant. But my point is that
yeah.
Dillingham helped develop Bo Nix a lot in his first year at Oregon, and I think he's going to work on doing the same for Levitt in the coming years because he just needs to chill out a bit because it's right now it's just you just can't you couldn't play this guy at quarterback in the NFL. He would get killed.
I liked him a good bit here. I thought he was a developmental backup at
Mm-hmm.
the moment. But I definitely had him a little bit higher. So I'll just talk about him now, just because I want to echo a lot of the things. I just value what he can do outside of structure a lot. Um, but I have him at 6. But I just want to talk about him while we're here. I did think that he was actually good at escaping the pocket, even though I did think that his drops got a little bit deep at times where he invited the pressure himself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I actually thought he had good enough arm strength. I don't think it's anything special, but I think his arm's good enough. Um, and I thought he was good off platform. I think he
Sure.
was off
Yeah.
platform too much, but
Yes.
I did think when he was off platform, he was pretty good. And I really liked his ball placement as well. I thought he did a really good job. You know, when he missed, but when he was actually
Yeah.
hitting the receiver, I thought he did a decent job of placing it in the right spots.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I just think it's just too much out of structure at this point. And like I think that
I
the
think he needs to go back for
yeah
another year.
yeah
I liked him. I Let me look. I had him a little bit higher than you. I had him at 6.
yeah like I think the
But
Texas game was very informative of that where he's playing against a much and like a near NFL caliber style defense and watching that game, he's in the first half, he's running around a lot and just not a lot is happening. And then, one or two things break his way in the second half, but really, like he doesn't really lead that comeback. Like it's really all Cam Scatterbo, which is crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, so I was just also I looked it up. So Kenny Dillingham was Bo's offense coordinator his first year at Auburn,
Oh, okay.
and then he was the OC at Florida State the next 2 years. So he worked with Jordan Travis. So a little there's a few lines to draw there, but not too crazy. And he's back to Auburn, work with Bo Nix again in 2022. So that's where I think that works. And I think we'll see Levitt take those steps. Just right now, if he were to come out like that right now, I'd be just like, no, I can't do this. All right, so that was a 9 for me. So who is your 8?
Mark Gronowski.
Okay, talk to me.
I don't disagree with you a lot. I think the arm strength is pretty average. I think for the level he was at, he was a good athlete, but I think he's a pretty average athlete at the next level. In terms of the Big Ten, I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
not NFL.
Right.
But I do think he can run a little bit uh, still in the Big Ten, and I think he can do it a little bit at the NFL. I just don't think he's someone that you're necessarily going to have on design runs, but I do think he has enough mobility where he's going to be pretty good there. Um, I thought his I thought his release was okay. I thought it was a little slow. Um, I thought his footwork, again, it was okay. It wasn't spectacular. I thought he did a decent job of not being stuck there in the mud. But in terms of actually, being able to step up in the pocket, I thought he was one of the better ones at actually stepping up into the pocket among a lot of the guys I watched. And that isn't necessarily saying he's great at that. It's saying that a lot of the guys that we've watched are bad at that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's fair.
and I just think across the board, he has a lot of passable traits. I thought he was above average when it came to accuracy among the guys I watched. I thought he was an above average decision maker, and I thought his placement was about average. I thought he had average arm strength among the guys I watched. I thought he was slightly above average in terms of pocket manipulation. I just think a lot of his traits are okay, and I think that is a guy who he's going to be a backup.
Yeah.
But I like him as a backup, and I'm still at 8 in the 4th round for me.
Yeah.
I think I'm lower on a lot of these guys that are in this 6 to 10 range than
Yeah.
a lot of people. And so I have no issue throwing a guy I think is going to be a really good long term backup in the middle of a group, even though there are players that other guys think are starters in this group.
Yeah, I think just for me with Gronowski is I just thought there were too many easy plays that he missed where he has a clean pocket. It's quick game and he's just not operating that well enough. And then with the intermediate and deep stuff, there was, it's about level with most of the quarterbacks we're seeing, but I'm watching him against FCS opponents where, again, they've run the ball so well that they can open up all this stuff. And when I think granted, it's Iowa, so they're going to run the ball well too. But I'm just not sure those windows are going to be as open against, FBS Big Ten defenders. So I'm just worried about it kind of coming down to earth a bit. And that's why I kind of have him with Kane's King, where it's like, okay, you're a pretty good college quarterback. I just don't know if you have enough to, you know, really be a difference maker at the NFL, which is why I have him a good bit lower in that like later fourth round range. So we'll probably see relatively similar. We just have different rankings of other guys, and I kind of like the floors of some of the other backup guys. You're muted.
Yeah, I have a mid fourth round grade on
Okay.
him. That just
Yeah.
happens to be 8 for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I just think I see a lot of other guys lower
Yeah.
than what consensus is. So
That's
it
fair.
just moves a guy like Gronowski up in the rankings, even though it doesn't really move him in terms of where I would pick him.
Yeah.
I will say, he did get a lot of reps against high level FCS teams, and I
That
think
is
those
true.
high level FCS teams are comparable to G5 teams.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I went back to 2023 and watched them too. I watched them against North Dakota State. I watched them against Northern Iowa, and those teams, they'd be good MAC teams. They'd
For
be
sure.
good CUSA teams. So I don't have. I think what we watched him against was more comparable to,
That's
at
fair.
least for me, was more comparable to a G5 schedule than a true FCS schedule.
That's fair. I also do think that, especially earlier in the year, I think he was probably still getting back to 100% because he had some injuries in the offseason. I think he's still dealing with that a little bit. So if that is okay and his arm is a bit stronger, then I think I can talk myself into him being a little higher. But based on what I saw, I was pretty skeptical. All right, I'm going to move on to 8. It's Josh Hoover from TCU. This was a guy I really liked a lot more than I thought I would because I thought he combined a lot of the best parts of a lot of the other kind of 6'2", 200-pound-ish backup guys. Your Levitt, Miller Moss, Baron Morton, Allmeyer, all these guys. I thought he had kind of the best of a lot of what they were doing. Very fast and aggressive player. That was probably the thing that I liked the most about him was his ability to operate quick game and even throw intermediate because he's not locking on a receiver. He's not taking forever to get through his reads. It's boom, 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 getting rid of the ball. Like to see all that. He's a good athlete, can make plays out of structure. He's only redshirt junior, so he's a little younger than some of these guys. Not overwhelmingly great tools. Like the arm is fine. The athleticism is fine. Just not a ton of that. And he does pretty well outside of structure, but I don't think it's not going to be an elevating part of the offense just because he doesn't have those physical tools. So I'm not really sure what his ceiling is, but I love his floor. I think in the right offense, he could be a good, like he kind of reminds me of what Bo Nix became in Oregon in the NFL, where he can make these plays, but he's best in the structure and operating quickly, making quick decisions. Again, not afraid to throw into tight windows over the middle, which is a very rare trait in this class, especially outside of the top 5. So I really like that about him. So he was 8 for me. I talked about Childs at 7, so let's do your number 7.
My number 7's Taylon Green,
He's 6 for me.
the
So
Arkansas quarterback.
we're all in the same boat here. So yeah, so go ahead.
Okay, below average accuracy,
Yep,
average
sure.
ball placement. I thought his release was bit looping. He brings
Which
it way too low for
for a
me
six for a
personally.
6'6" guy, it's gonna that might
Yeah,
happen.
and he has that same issue that I saw with Childs with the wide base
Mm-hmm.
as well. But again, with that size, it's kind of expected. But I do think that some of his accuracy issues can stem from his base and his footwork. Um, he's a great runner, and he has a
Unbelievable.
awesome
Yeah.
arm.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's in terms of physical tools, if this guy was a junior instead of a fifth year senior,
Mm.
I think he would be talked about in the same light as some of the other top guys. And for me, he is My 4 through 7 were all in the same tier.
Okay.
I have no issue with this is where it's like a late third round.
Yep.
I
Okay.
have no issue with taking him late on day 3.
Day 2.
Day 2, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Sorry,
Okay.
round
Yeah.
3, day
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. 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 Yeah. So for me, Green at 6, Childs at 7, and Hoover at 8 are all in the same tier, but I would say they're actually early third rounders for me. And they're all very different because, like I said, Hoover's this very high floor, don't really know what his ceiling is. Childs is the high ceiling, floor is pretty low right now, but he's young, can develop. Probably should go back to school for another year. And then Green is the older guy with these insane tools, but like you said, the accuracy is not good. The pocket presence is not very good, but man, I mean, the physical tools are just outrageous, both as a thrower and a runner. I'm like concerned that he just becomes Felipe Franks, where he has to play tight end. But
For what
you
it's
know,
worth, he's a better athlete than Franks.
unquestionably,
Uh,
yeah.
but it's where I think he could be really good doing that. But I do think the accuracy is a bit more fixable than Franks's
Yeah.
accuracy issues were. Because Franks, I didn't think there was a chance he could
Hmm.
ever be fixed, and it's just I have more confidence in the ability to get Green to be okay. Where again, all these guys I think are developmental starters right
Hmm.
now in my 4 through 7. I don't think you can throw any of these guys out day one. Uh,
Yeah.
so I have no issue with uh, drafting him in that third round where you drafted Jalen Milrow, that kind of
Oh
range,
yeah. Hmm.
and just taking a chance.
Yeah. For me, my like Taylor Green kind of reminds me of what Justin Fields is now, where he is that crazy athlete, and that's what he's going to be used for a lot for. And then if you get him in the right system with the right players, you can kind of craft this weird offense with him, but he might not be the best in your more traditional drop back game, where he needs to be the guy. So, and obviously there's like, it's hard to just watch him and not see Colin Kaepernick just because of how tall and long they are and these crazy long strides where they just eat up turf. It's just crazy. So yeah, so he was 6 for me. So we had kind of pretty much most of the same guys here in that 6 to 10 range. Just kind of bumped around a little bit. So then that makes me think we probably have the same guys in the top 5. Um, so
Well, yeah, I would have, for what it's worth, I will say it right now, I would have Arch third for me if he was to be in this class. I really liked what I saw.
I think he'd probably be third or fourth for me as well. So
Yeah, he
in that same
third
range.
third for me was pretty close, so I
Mhm.
could see.
Yeah.
I think there's a very clear distinction between 3 and 4 without Arch being in the class.
Okay. All right. Let's do so. 5 for me is Garrett Nussmeyer, um, from LSU. Nussmeyer was tough for me because he did a lot of the stuff that a lot of the guys they had below him in the same way where he's not super big, he's not a great athlete, he's very good in quick game, he's got some decent deep intermediate stuff. His best thing is the pocket presence. That's what I thought his best trait was, his ability to manipulate the pocket. He can get out of the pocket and move a little bit. The results of what happens after vary a bit. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Um, and I like his intangibles, obviously, son of a coach, son of an NFL quarterback, all that stuff. I think he's aggressive with pushing the ball downfield and into tight windows, which is nice. But I'm just not sure he has the physical tools to really do that consistently with success at the NFL level. Um, but he probably has a very high floor as a player. Like, I think, you're somewhere. It's a very weird. When I do comps, I try to do like a kind of a high, middle, low kind of thing. So for me, the 3 names I wrote down were Baker Mayfield, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Mac Jones. It's like if you end up somewhere in that tier, like you can probably win with that.
I've seen I know Todd McShay has the Baker Mayfield comp out for him.
Yeah.
But that's been a pretty popular comp. I can see it. I'll talk about him a little bit. I am a little higher, but I do think his footwork's really good. The one pet peeve I have with him, major pet peeve. I hate right-handed quarterbacks that have the right foot back,
Mm.
and then you're moving the right foot forward on the snap
Yeah.
just to move the left foot back.
Okay.
Just it's a pet peeve. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's just I hate watching it.
Yeah.
It's just something I just do not like. I want left foot back. That way, when you're getting into the drop, you're dropping the right foot immediately. And
Mm-hmm.
but honestly, I think he has the best footwork in this class at the moment.
That's
I
fair.
do think that a lot of the younger guys can definitely pass him with footwork improvement because I think physical tool wise, that's where he struggles a bit. I think he's just like I think the Baker Mayfield comp is there because of his physical tools.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's pretty much above average across the board in terms of
Mm-hmm.
physical tools. And like I think he's one of the less mobile guys in this draft just because of how of the guys I watched at least there's a lot of good athletes. And I just think he's okay when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um
One
I
one
think his
thing
release is
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I think his release is fine, but could improve. And the one thing with him in the pocket, I do think there were times where he got too deep.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. But he doesn't really have the, which again, he doesn't really have the arm strength to come back from. That said, he does make my favorite throw the most consistently out of any of these guys, and that is the specific. Usually, you're like balls in the middle of the field. You got trips to the left, and number 2 and number 3 does the deep crosser, and he throws it to the to the far side of the field and pulls the crosser upfield for a yards after catch. That's my favorite throw, and he does that probably the most of everybody in this class, which I really like. But for me, he's still a second round guy just because. And again, like quarterbacks aren't really getting taken in the second round as much. We did just see it with Tyler Shuck, but I don't know. I'm not sure there's a ton of ceiling there just because of there aren't overwhelming physical tools, and there are some very nice nuances of the position, like the footwork, but the decision making and the not really consistent ability to win out of structure is what concerns me as terms of setting a ceiling. Where I don't know if you can really be like a team, a player that elevates your offense.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I have him third, but
Okay.
I have him as a second round grade.
Okay. All right.
It's
So
just
yeah. So then who's your
my
fifth?
5 was Klubnik.
Wow. Okay. All right. Talk to me.
Okay. So now this may have been colored by the fact that the first 2 games I watched were Georgia and South Carolina. Um
Mm.
I thought he struggled at times in the pocket. But I thought he had enough physical tools where he can get away with it. I think his mobility is really good.
Mm.
Obviously not as good as some of these other guys. I thought he struggled with accuracy. I thought he struggled um, to be consistent in his footwork. I thought he got a little bit flat sometimes, where he wasn't getting onto that back foot. I thought
Mm.
um, just thought he was inconsistent. At the moment, I honestly think he's a early third, late second type guy. I think he is definitely someone where I would take him as a developmental starter, but developmental like future starter where I want to have a guy where he doesn't have to come in and play right away.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think he's ready yet. I think his footwork is too inconsistent. I don't think he has enough arm strength where I'm drafting him in the first round based on physical tools. Um, and I don't think he's consistent enough to go in the first round either. That's why I have him a little bit lower. I think it's not the worst accuracy I've seen in this class, obviously, and it's not the worst arm I've seen in this class. But I don't think you can be a first round pick where a lot of people have him. Uh, not being not excelling at either.
Okay. I'll get to him later because I am a decent bit
Yeah, I
high.
figured you have. I
But
figure he's the one I'm probably lowest on out of everybody.
there are two things that I do want to talk about that I kind of think mesh with what you're saying. Firstly, that offense doesn't have a lot of intermediate passing, except when
Yeah,
he's usually outside the pocket or it's like a designed rollout. So that is a little concerning for me, where it's this kind of RPO-ish heavy offense where it's not a ton of like true mental processing and decision making. And then the issue with the footwork, I thought, was that his front foot, his lead foot, goes wide, usually to the left, because he's just throwing from right, throwing from right to left, and that foot like goes wide to the left, and that leads to a lot of the spray of his inaccuracy. So I, but yeah, I want to talk about him later. I'll talk more about the positive stuff, but I totally see your issues with him, and I think that I think if he had declared this year, I think I'd be right there with you. But I'll come back to him later. My 4 is Lenora Sellers.
Okay.
And for me, one of my struggles with this is like evaluating what is there and evaluating projection. Because I want to say like what does the guy show me, and how highly do I value that, or how highly do I think NFL teams evaluate that? And Sellers is a very unique type of player in that he is probably one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks to enter the NFL draft in quite a while in terms of everything: his arm, his build, his athletic ability, all that stuff. And he's also only been a 1-year starter. And I think that with another year, and even ideally even with another 2, he's going to get a lot better with the mental aspects of the game, because right now that offense is, or offense was, I should say, because the offense coordinator left and now it's going to be a different guy, or it's going to be Mike Shula, who's actually he was the offense coordinator for Cam Newton at Carolina. So I think that's a great fit, because the offense now, it's a lot of slide RPOs, hit the tight end of the flat, hit the screen, and they go for big plays. Like, oh, that's great, but it's like you didn't make a big throw. That said, he does make a lot of crazy big throws, and like again, probably the best arm in the class, probably the best runner in the class, maybe best outside of structure in this class. But mechanics are inconsistent. There is some bad decision making. I'm not necessarily sure accuracy is the problem, just the timing of the throw. And I think there are times where he just is, and this is just probably a lack of reps thing, where he just doesn't trust what he's seeing and trust he can make the throw, but he can. So that just takes some coaching, some time, some experience. So I think like right now he's a 2nd-round pick for me. I'm just a little worried about some of that stuff, but I would feel like after this year, assuming things kind of go the way everybody expects them to, he'll be a 1st-round lock for me. So I like him at 4, but I definitely see it getting higher. And it's tough to find a comp for him because he is built weird. Like he's very thick and he's big, but he's not super tall.
Yeah.
So you could say the Cam Newton, but he's just not as crazy tall or as big. Warren Moon came to mind, which is a crazy comp, but I feel like that was probably one of the better ones you could come up with. So Lenora Sellers from South Carolina is 4 for me.
Yeah, I have him a little higher. My number 4 is Drew Aller.
He's 3 for me, so I think I can see where I see where we're going.
I had him in the same tier as Klubnik, where I think this is a late 2nd-round type guy. Maybe early 3rd. I thought the footwork again was inconsistent. Didn't consistently get into a 3-step drop. He was slow to get into his drops. So lazy mechanics at times. Didn't love the pocket management. Thought he was a pretty good runner for what he is size wise. There was a couple times where he was, downfield concepts, and he was using quick game footwork. Like I saw one, it was a rail, and he was using quick game footwork. It's just, I'm not necessarily certain if it's him or the offense, but I'm hoping it's him and it's fixable, because I don't want to see another year of some of this stuff where the footwork is rough. I just want a lot of the footwork stuff to be fixed. I think his release at the top of it is good, but it can be a bit slow at times. I thought his arm strength was I thought he had one of the better arms of the class, and I think for him versus Klubnik, for me, the one part of his game where I thought he was better than Klubnik was the arm strength, and I think that's what puts him above Klubnik for me. But I think Klubnik is slightly better at most other things than Aller, except for I think I like the physical tools with Aller a little bit more. So projection wise, I just have Aller a little bit higher just because I like the physical tools a little bit more. But I don't love either their footwork. Uh, but I would say that might be a second place where I might take Aller, but that one's really close. But outside of the arm, I don't. There's not a whole lot that there is to love. But I think it's close enough to where I can see with one more year of development him getting to the point where I can like him as a player. It's just he's close to being okay at everything to where
Yeah.
with development, I think he can get there to be a first round player. It's just he doesn't have any of it yet,
Yeah.
is kind of my issue with him.
Yeah. He's 3 for me. So I'll just talk about him, then we'll come back to your 3. Again, I also like the development over the last few years where he has played better.
Oh,
At
yeah,
least,
he got a lot better.
yeah. Yeah. So that is encouraging to see. Like you said, physical tools are great. Good runner, good athlete. I think the best, better pure arm than Klubnik. But to your point about the footwork, I think Klubnik does a better job of using his feet to set up his deep ball, whereas Aller just can yeet it. Which, hey, that's cool. um, but I think there are some really incredible throws that he makes intermediate and deep that other guys in this class just can't and won't do. There are guys who can do it, but they won't, and there are guys who just don't have the physical to do it. So that's something that obviously teams would want. I think his release and just his mechanics are just so weird that that's what leads to the inaccuracies, which you kind of talked about. And this is a problem that I've heard talked about with these like bigger, longer quarterbacks, is that they become like too robotic with their delivery, and that leads to some of the spray and the inaccuracies. I think especially like coming over the top, and then the ball goes down, which leads to short arming some throws. And I'm not sure how much I can really put this on him, but the fact that just in big games he just doesn't show up, or he's bad, or they don't trust him to do it, which is all concerning for me. Now, part of me almost wonders, will this offense make more sense or just be more normal where they aren't trying to funnel Tyler Warren touches all the time? It
Yeah,
seems like
and they
he's
brought in quite a few receivers this year.
yes, yeah.
So
Which and the other part of that is that's interesting is that a lot of them are like small, speedy guys, not a ton of like big targets. So I imagine they're going to use the tight ends for that. Dinkins and Reynolds, I think.
yeah,
Brought in,
I know Reynolds is supposed to be a great athlete again,
yeah,
just like your normal Penn State guys. He was
right,
the higher recruit.
yeah. But then they brought over Pena from Syracuse, who great slot receiver. So like I wonder if where instead of they're throwing these tunnel screens to Tyler Warren or doing all this stuff, it's like let's just run like again it is Andy Kotelnicki, but let's run a regular offense where we can actually like let Drew do some stuff. And if they don't, that raises my eyebrows. So we'll see. And again, we've seen the steps. Maybe he takes the final step this year. He was originally my QB1. Then I went back and watched some stuff, looked at it a little more critically, tried to focus on it, and I did bump down a few spots because I was just like, yeah, this is the tough part with the projection thing, where it's what can he be, which he could be absolutely incredible, but there's things that he does where it's like the two names I wrote down were like Carson Wentz, Blake Bortles, where it's just like, what are you doing? Where it's like this big dude is a great athlete and you're not making the right decisions or playing the game the right way. You're muted.
I can see that as an outcome for sure. I definitely like him enough to where I'd be willing to take the shot on him,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want him playing immediately
No,
unless
probably
he takes another big leap.
not. Mm-hmm.
But again, I like him enough to where in this class, I don't think it's a great quarterback class. I understand that when you watch versus last year,
Yeah,
it
that's
is
true.
better, but it's not some great quarterback class. So I'm fine with taking him in the top five.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so that leaves three now. We're into our top threes.
Yeah, so that was 3. He was 3 for me, so who's your 3?
Garrett Nussmeier.
Okay.
Um, again, we talked about him already a little bit. I think he has the best footwork in the class. I think his tools are okay enough to where, you know, you're thinking a round grade bump for anybody. So I have a firm, like early second round grade on him. So I definitely think he's a guy who will go in the first round. Um, just because you're bumping them up at least half a round, if not a full round, for being a quarterback and being someone who is an early second round grade. I'm fine with it. I wouldn't necessarily love him just because I don't love the upside as a high end quarterback, but I definitely think he's a guy where if you take him, you're going to get probably pretty decent play for the contract that he will be on, and he will be able to let you get good value out of a rookie quarterback deal. I just don't think he has the long term upside to warrant being a top 10 pick. Um, but if you're like the Steelers, if the Steelers get Rodgers and they have a good season, and they finish, at 21 or 22,
Like they always do.
take him. Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like him more than I like Pickett. Like it's the same bet you're taking with that you took with Pickett, but I think this is a lot better player.
Mhm.
Um, I think he can be a guy where he can step in, he can start, and I think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
I just don't think he has a long term upside. Like, I think if he hits, he's going to be the 15th best quarterback in the NFL.
Sure. Yeah,
Like,
I think the Pickett comp is interesting because I think you could draw similarities between the two, but I think that because their physical tools are, I would say, roughly similar. Nussmeier
yeah,
probably
I
has
just think
the
he's
better of
a
an arm.
better player
Yeah,
than
but I
Pickett
think
is
I
by
think
far.
the thing is mental processing, play speed, and footwork. Like it's all
Yeah.
that. Whereas like with Pickett, like we talked about, I forget who it was earlier, but I was saying how I guess it was Wegman, where they kind of want to win out of structure and they don't have the tools to do that. Nussmeier will do that. And again, the results vary, but he wants to be the pocket passer. He does, like you said, best footwork, best pocket management in the class. So I see that. But yeah, I'm just a little more skeptical of the tools and some of the decision making. That's the thing I really consider about. I'm like, just why, like some of these throws are just really, really not smart.
Yeah,
Granted, now it
and
was his first
again,
year as a starter. So
I don't necessarily think that I see him lower. Like, I see him as a higher end prospect than you do. I just am lower on a couple other guys,
yeah, that's fair. That's
where it
true.
moves him up in the rankings. But again, I have a second round grade on him.
Yeah. Okay. So then my three was Aller. We talked about him a ton. So who's your two?
Lenora Sellers.
Okay. Now I know who this is
It's an
about.
upside bet. I
Oh yeah,
understand it.
for sure.
I understand what it is. It's
Yeah.
it's the same. Last episode, I had Chase Basantis. It's the same thing. It's an upside bet. This is hell. This is the best physical tools in the class. I mean, I can see an argument if Arch is in the class for him because I do think I like his arm just a tad more than
No, I don't.
Sellers.
I don't. I would actually disagree with that. I think his
I
arm is better.
I think that it's like close. Like I think it could you could I could see the argument, but I
I also
have
think
them.
I think Arch's arm is more mechanically dependent. I think Sellers is it's kind of like Aller, where it's there all the time.
Yeah, he is really good off platform for what he is. But again, I think I don't really currently see where with another year of development he's going to have a weakness. Does he have weaknesses right now? Sure.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I think he definitely struggles with his progressions. I definitely think he struggles in reading a defense. I think he has some inconsistency when it comes to accuracy and footwork, but I definitely think those are things that you expect out of a first year starter and
Yeah,
I
for sure.
expect to get cleaned up. So I'm just betting that he's going to clean up those things and he's right there with I think he's the best runner. I think he's a little bit better than Taylor Green as a runner. Um, I love him as a runner. I think
Hmm.
he brings a little bit more physicality. Um, I think he has good ball security when he runs, which is a big issue with some of these quarterbacks.
Hmm.
And I do think he actually does a decent job in the pocket. I just thought that offensive line was horrific.
Yeah,
Um,
that's also a
it
big
was
problem.
it was a terrible offensive line, but I think they're returning everybody.
I think they swapped out. I think they had some transfer swap outs, but they're all like veterans and such.
Okay, yeah,
So we'll see.
and yeah, it's definitely something where like I'd be interested. He took 31 sacks, but honestly,
Some of those
I
are like
don't think a
scrambles,
lot of those were
basically.
his fault.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd agree with
yeah.
that.
And
Or
even
they
then,
were,
I don't
yes,
think a lot of them were his fault.
yes, yeah, I would totally agree with that. Yeah, yeah. For me, I just want to see it first. But I totally
Yeah,
get it.
I get that. This
Yeah,
is an upside swing.
yeah. Okay,
It's an upside swing.
so two for me, who I believe is probably your number one, is Fernando Mendoza from Cal, now at Indiana. Um, One of the better arms in the class, pretty decent athlete. Um, Probably one of the better pocket passers in this class. My problem with him is that I don't understand why he makes so many jump passes. Like there are so many jump passes where he's leaving his feet. I'm just like, I don't really think we need to do this now. In some of the games I watched, the center was the worst center I've ever seen in terms of just snapping, just awful. And I think that threw off a lot of his timing with these plays. And with him, there are times where he does rip it into really tight windows over the middle, and that's awesome. But there are times where he doesn't, and I don't really get it. Um, I think that supporting cast, well, there are good players there, but they weren't there all the time, and the offensive line was very bad. And I don't really like I don't really love the scheme. But I think he'll be a lot better at Indiana. We're working again, it's gonna be a little more RPO, so maybe you can quibble with that, but I it was weird watching because there were certain things I saw about him. Like there was certain like the rolling out jump pass was kind of Aaron Rodgers to me, and then there some like the pocket deep throws were a little Philip Rivers, and then him running was like Eli Manning. And so it was all of these things going in my mind, which brought me to my comp for him, which is Jameis Winston, which feels mean, but
I I think he's a slightly better just like I do think he's a slightly better decision maker than that, where I
yes,
wouldn't make that comp.
yeah.
But
He's basically if
I
Jameis got LASIK after his first year at Florida State instead of at the end of his rookie contract.
yeah, I mean I have him at one,
Mhm,
but again, I think he has good tools, not exceptional tools. I think his arm's really good. I think it's pretty live. I think he gets a good pace on intermediate throws.
mhm,
Um, I think he's fairly accurate. I think he has really good ball placement when he hits his receivers.
mhm.
Um, I think he has good mobility, and I think he's probably, for me, has the probably the second cleanest release in this draft.
I don't
I
know. I
think
don't know.
it's
I just don't know if I
I
can say
think
that
it's
because of the jump passes.
okay. Yeah, I mean that's fair, but I think it's a fairly clean release. I think this is a pretty clean player. Like there's definitely stuff to clean up.
Yes.
You talked about a lot of it, but I think this is a guy who makes it in the NFL even as is.
Yeah.
Um, and I
I
just
don't
think
think a lot of his bad plays were his fault. I'll say that.
yes, I think this is a guy where I am fairly confident he is going to make it, and I
Mhm,
just don't know how many players in this class I can say that about. Now, why I have him at one is he is that, but he actually has physical tools that I like.
mhm,
Now, I think this is a guy where I see a lot of the same stuff people see in Garrett Nussmeier, but with actual physical tools. I
okay.
think he has pretty good footwork when he is right. It is
Okay.
not consistent, but I
Okay.
think it's more consistent than Klubnik. That's why I have him a little bit ahead. Like I think he has a better arm than Nussmeier. I think it's just one of those things where you can go by trait, and he beats out the other guys at least one thing where he is a good bit better than them at least one thing.
So what is it
And
for?
it's
Sorry, what is it for Aller with you then? What is he better at than Aller?
footwork.
Okay, even though you said you think his footwork's inconsistent, so you think it's
I
because I
think
feel like
it's
you.
inconsistent, but I hated Aller's footwork at
Okay, all right,
times.
okay, gotcha.
Um, like I
So you think
definitely
you would
think
say Aller's is like consistently bad, whereas my God Mendoza's is
Mendoza's is just
inconsistent, but
inconsistent.
when it is good, it's
Yeah.
good. Okay, all right, okay,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Okay,
And again, this isn't a number one overall pick type quarterback for me. I
okay,
think this is a guy where I am comfortable with taking him somewhere in the first round because I think he can be a quality starter with top 8 upside. I
mm-hmm.
don't think he has the tools to ever be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I think he has, like I could definitely see it to where with his mobility, with his arm strength, with his accuracy, I could see him being, someone that can be an all pro depending on the season.
Mm,
But I also think that his floor, he has one of the higher floors. I think his floor is that Jameis Winston type.
yeah,
I
okay,
kind of think that's where his floor is. And
yeah,
I'm more comfortable taking that right now, where I have a little bit of the floor and a little bit of the upside right now over a guy like Sellers, who's pure upside,
mm-hmm.
and a guy like Nussmeyer, who's pure floor.
I think Nate Tice complimented Matt Ryan, which is kind of in that vein of what you said, like near an all pro if everything goes right, and Matt Ryan had the
Yeah.
one MVP season where everything went right. So I can see that.
Yeah, that's probably about the caliber of player. Again, a more modern player. I think he has a
Yeah.
lot better mobility than Ryan had,
Yes,
but I
that's
think
definitely
that's just
true.
the modern NFL.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. So that leaves my one, and it's Cade Klubnik, which I didn't really expect to happen. Um, for me, I thought this was kind of the good across the board thing for me. Again, I am concerned about the lack of intermediate passing. The footwork thing with the lead foot moving is a problem. Um, but I thought that his improvement from year to year is very impressive. Second year, is it the first or second year in this system with Riley? Whatever. Getting into a better system, just
Trying to
Clemson,
remember.
because Clemson's offense before was just garbage um, with whoever was running it. But so that's good to see. I thought he had a pretty good arm for his size. Like we talked about the footwork, like he uses footwork to get it. But I thought when that is there, it has a lot of drive and a lot of lift. Like it really once he throws it, it's going, which I thought was very impressive. I thought he was very good in the quick game. Again, kind of like what I talked about with Hoover, where it's fast, it's quick, it's not. He is anticipating. It's quick game, but he's anticipating. He's not waiting to make sure somebody's open. Again, I want to see that in the intermediate. I don't know if we will, just based on the offense. And I love his ability as a runner. He is a smaller guy, but he's a pretty good athlete. They use him on design runs a lot. There were plays where he would bust in the open field and run away from the entire defense. So that's something that's interesting to me. I do feel like he is not going to end as my QB1. I feel like any one of Aller, Sellers, maybe Mendoza will end up there based on this year, based on who develops the most. I don't think because like you said with the physical tools with Klubnik, there isn't as much room for development. If he improves the accuracy, that's there. I thought that was fine. I didn't have a huge problem with that. So it's hard. It is a tough class to kind of figure out because there are so many guys that are projections and need to fix like key aspects of the game. But I don't know.
And there's nobody that's just the standout guy.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought that Klubnik probably had the fewest glaring flaws aside from just being a bit undersized. And I like that I mentioned this to the tackles. I like the year to year development, taking these big steps every year, the more as he gets more and more reps. So he's my QB1. I'm not thrilled about it, but I imagine there might even be some movement before the year starts, and there will definitely movement as the season progresses. With that said,
How do you feel about him working in the pocket?
I thought it was decent.
Decent. Okay.
Yeah, I thought I didn't see. the like obliviousness to pressure. I did not see the the fear, the jitteriness that some of the guys I thought it was like fine. Like I thought he had a good sense of when to eject. I thought he could create outside of structure a little bit. So it wasn't Nussmeier pocket management levels by any
Yeah,
means, but I
yeah.
thought it was. I didn't see it as a problem.
Now, I will say, I thought I saw it a little bit in the Georgia game, but Georgia's defensive line
And it's week one.
was,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
But
it's Georgia.
Georgia's
Yeah,
defensive line was also really good.
yeah,
So
yeah. And
I
healthy Michael
understand it.
Williams. Yeah.
I understand it, but I
Yeah.
did see it a little bit. And my only concern is, if you have that where Clemson's got a pretty solid offensive line. I don't necessarily think outside of them and the South Carolina game, they really saw a great defensive line. I'd have to go back through their schedule to remember for sure.
I'm not sure.
I mean, well,
It's a little different, but Texas, but that was more run stoppers.
yeah,
But
yeah,
Sorrell, up Simmons. What am I? Yeah, I think Texas would be on point.
yeah.
And honestly, I would have to go back and watch it and look for that. But I thought that wasn't really a problem in the Texas game. So, and that's the first game of the year, last game of the year. So that would make sense that there's some development there within the season. You know,
Yeah, definitely. And it's something
the
where,
the, the
it,
game that
I
maybe
am
did.
concerned with 25 sacks, I believe. Um,
I think I actually had a note
but
on that. Let me. I do the note about the pocket thing, which you brought up. I think the game against Pitt, he did get a bit jittery, but that's just they zero blitz all the time. So
and
um
Pitt had 5 sacks on him, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah. Oh, and I
So
did, yeah, and I did mention that he does. I think this was against Pitt. He does the spin backwards out of the pocket move, and it's like okay, no, we
yeah,
we got to
but
we got to
that's
get that
not
cleaned
just
up.
him. That's a very common thing in this class
Yeah.
is that they're trying to spin out pressure back behind the
Mhm.
pocket.
Oh, I mean, Levitt.
Um,
That's Levitt's go-to.
and
That honestly,
yes,
that's
yeah,
kind of where like if Levitt can be Klubnik, that's where I would be really a big fan of his because I think they are pretty. I mean, I think they're like basically the same size. I think maybe I don't know. I guess they're pretty similar athletes. Maybe Levitt has a bit stronger of an arm, but even I don't know. I feel like they're pretty
I think
similar
it's
players.
slight, like it's close enough to where in how useful it is, I don't really think it matters.
Hmm.
But I would, if you ask me who had the better arm, I would say Levitt. But I
Hmm.
don't really think it matters in
Yeah.
terms of on the field.
Yeah, so I'm looking at these sack. So yeah, 5 against South Carolina, 3 against, excuse me, 3 against Louisville, 3 against Virginia Tech, 2 against South Carolina, 3 against Texas, 3 against SMU. So also 3 against Florida State. So yikes. But pressure to sack rate of 15%, which was about the same last year. So that's
Yeah.
pretty consistent. Um, I think we talked about this with Blake Miller that Ashton Gelati just killed him because of power. Um, Virginia Tech had some pretty good pass rushers this past year. Texas had some. Pitt just blitzes the hell out of everybody. SMU had some guys too, so I could and that was a lot of dropbacks in that game. I think you generally see like a lot of the games where it's the more dropbacks. Obviously, the more dropbacks, the more sacks he has. So in more pass heavy games where he just passed more, they would kind of get beat sometimes. So I kind of get that. But let's do our superlatives. So skip down. Let's do our plant the flag. Guy that we are kind of just willing to die on the hill for. Weirdly enough, mine's Josh Hoover, the TCU quarterback that I talked about. Again, just because I love the floor. Again, I don't know what the ceiling is, but it's just the guy's got something. He's not the super old guys like a lot of the guys that are lower ranked in this class. Like he is a rolling redshirt junior. Guy makes plays. Guy throws over the middle. He's a decent enough runner where I'm like, okay, this guy can be something. I don't know exactly what, but maybe a Brock Purdy type. Where I think he would be drafted higher than Purdy, but it's like he maybe isn't the most physically gifted, but he can do a lot of stuff that can help you run a good offense.
Yeah, for me, my plant the flag guys, Lenora Sellers.
Yeah.
Um, Again, it's just an upside bet. I think he has a chance to end up as the first overall pick in this
Mm-hmm.
class. I also think there's a chance that he has to come back to school. I would lean closer to first overall pick. If I had to say right now where I would project him, I'd say he's probably a borderline top 10 pick, just
Mm-hmm.
because of the quarterback tax that you're getting. I don't see him as a top 10 player in this class, but I definitely think he ends up there just pick wise. But he's my play the flag guy just because I'm willing to take that bet.
Yeah. Fix one trait. My joke one was Mendoza's supporting cast, namely his center. Um, but my legitimate one, and I guess you go with both. Mendoza, it would be like just please stop jump passing, and I guess that's kind of like my pet peeve. Yours was the Nussmeier foot stance. I'm just like please stop jump passing. I mean, if you're rolling out, it's fine, and you're throwing the slider out, okay.
I
Stop
think
doing
a
it from the
difference
pocket.
is though that with his jump pass, it actually does, affect something. Whereas Nussmeier's stance
Yeah, yeah,
pre-snap does not affect
yeah,
anything.
yeah. If I had a legit one, I would
For
probably.
me,
If I had a legit one, I would also. I would. Well, actually, go ahead. Now, I don't want to spoil it in case it's the same because I feel like it could be the same. Go ahead.
uh, Connor Wegman and
Oh,
accuracy,
oh. Well, that's just
it's so bad. It's so
Connor.
bad. Where again, I don't even think with it he's a top 5 quarterback, but
Yeah.
I think he's a top 10 quarterback in this class
Okay.
with improved accuracy. I honestly think you could just, if you want to even narrow down, just improve his footwork. And I think he skyrockets up ahead of guys like Beck and probably even
Yeah.
Gronowski for me.
That's like
I
saying.
don't think with improved footwork he passes Green, who is my QB7, but I think with improved footwork, accuracy would follow a little bit, not fully fix everything, but if you improve the footwork, you probably move him up to 8 for me.
Does taking away Carson Beck's Snapchat count? I think it should. I think that would make him a
Uh,
day two
I
pick at
feel
least.
like you have to take away more social media than
That's
just
fair.
Snapchat.
That's fair. Just take away his phone. Okay. Highest
Yeah.
ceiling. I feel like we're probably gonna be line of this is Sellers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talked a lot. We can move on. Let's do our highest floor. Which I'm kind of combining with the one we had with our last show, with the later round 12-year vet. Um, Haynes King. I just kind of like. I kind of like the running. I kind of like the quick game. I feel like coaches just are going to like him. I feel like it's just a random. This is kind of a random pick, but there's a lot of guys in this tier. Like I think I had like 10 guys in this round 4, like late round 3, round 4, early round 5 tier
Yeah.
of guys who are just gonna be long term backups. And for me, it's just Haynes King. Just kind of like his vibe.
Yeah, I split them. I did highest floor as the higher end guys, and I did
Okay.
12-year vet as the day 3 guys.
Okay.
So
Sure.
my 12-year vet was the guy I was higher on than you. It's Mark Gronowski.
Sure.
Uh,
Well, I had graded
and
the
then
same
my
as
highest,
King, so that makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then my highest floor I had Nussmeier, just
That
because
would.
I think he's
Yeah, that's fair. If I were to split them, I'd probably say the same. Although, again, like I might go back to Hoover just because he's a little younger, and like again, the pocket stuff isn't as good, but I feel like the athleticism is a little bit better. It might make up for it. So I'm close to having it Hoover for highest floor. Biggest gap between highest ceiling and highest floor, or biggest gap between the ceiling and the floor.
for me it's Aiden Childs. Um,
Okay,
I was going to be a dick and say Connor Wegman,
I was going to be a dick and say Carson Beck. So
But uh, but in all honesty, if the guys I actually think have a actual high ceiling, it's Aiden Childs because I think he's really far away right now. But
yeah.
I think I I really like his ceiling. I think he has top 10 pick ceiling, and it's just he's so far away right now. Where if he were to come out as he is, he's a day 3 guy.
hmm Yeah, I think my biggest gap was Drew Aller, because I think if everything clicks, if it works, like we're talking Ben Roethlisberger, Josh Allen, and everything's great. If it does, if it's bad, it's like I said, Wentz, Bortles, keep it in the same school. Will well, Will Levis, same school, or Hackenberg. Like, so yeah, I think it's between like the gap is all pro versus out of the NFL by the end of the rookie contract.
Shout out, we already named 2 other Penn State quarterbacks right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I really want it to work because I do like some of the skill set, but I just don't see it. For my head scratcher, it was actually Garrett Nussmeier, but more so from the QB1 first round that I see some people talk about, which I don't get at all. Um, that's it's a bit of cheating, but that's where I get with that. And then my other one was Luke Altmaier because I haven't heard a bit of buzz about him, and I think he's pretty good. Not great, but pretty good. Like I've seen a lot of these other guys talked about a lot, like even Connor Wegman, but it's like nobody talks about Luke Altmaier, and I don't really know why.
So for me, it's I don't necessarily know which one to do because I'm going to say Nico Lava. I think he has to go back to school. He's currently, if you go to NFL mock draft database, he is QB 8.
Jeez,
I just
that is crazy.
I don't get it. I think he has a lot of work to do. I understand the physical tools, but I think there's just better players with better physical tools.
I think he also
Like
just he struggles to harness them and like to actually affect the game in a positive way. Like yeah, the arm's
like if
great.
it's me, Childs is below him. I'd take
That's
Childs over him.
crazy.
I like
Yep.
Childs better physical. I like Childs physical tools better,
Mm-hmm.
and he's 3 spots lower.
Mm-hmm.
He's QB 10 or 11, I forget, but I'd rather take the bet on Childs
Yeah.
personally than
Yeah. I would agree. I would
Jaime
agree with
Lava.
that. Best pocket presence, Nussmeier. Easy. Pocket presence
Yeah.
manipulation, poise, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
That's the best. Um,
Yep.
Best quick game, I had Miller Moss. I could probably go a bunch of ways. There's all pretty much every Big 12 quarterback. I will say this about Moss. I don't know if I brought this up earlier. I am very interested to see his progression at Louisville with the Brahms. Because we've seen a lot of guys go there and really help their stock. Even Jack Plummer, who was like a nobody. And this past year, Tyler Shuck, who needed to stay healthy. That was the big thing. But he, running that pro style offense can do wonders. And I'm not sure, maybe that might not even be Moss's best game, but I think that because when watching him, I really didn't understand him getting benched. Like, I didn't think he played that badly. I didn't think the stuff that was going wrong was really his fault.
No, and I didn't watch Maeva, so I don't know if Maeva's just a
I feel
lot
like
better. I didn't
I
watch
didn't
him.
think
Like I
so.
watched him live, but
I think the only
I
thing is that
didn't really.
Maeva allowed them to run the ball with the quarterback more, which Riley wants to do a lot. I will say the Washington game had him seeing ghosts. He was really did not like, and they were just running like a lot of cover 3, and he was just like, I don't know what's going on, which was concerning. Best intermediate, or sorry, did you give your best quick game? Sorry.
I did not out
Okay.
who because I did not write that one down.
You throw a
Um,
dart. You throw a dart at any smaller quarterback.
I don't know. I guess I'll just do Nussmeier again. I guess.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sure. I don't know. I didn't write that one down, so I would
That's fine. Oh
have to
yeah,
think
I
about it.
forgot we were gonna skip that. But okay, so best intermediate, you go ahead.
Mendoza.
I had that as
That's
well.
where I liked him the best.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's I think that's where he's at his best. I think to be a good intermediate passer, you need to have the arm, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I think a couple guys like Nussmeier tend to struggle. You can get away with being a deep ball passer without having the arm, but in those intermediate routes,
Yeah,
you can't
for sure.
really get away with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's where Mendoza shines the best.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
who
was the
is
same.
yours?
Mine was the
Oh,
same.
here.
Mendoza. Yeah,
Okay.
we're aligned there. If I had to pick another, it might be Childs, honestly. Just because again, physical tools. The accuracy is
Yeah,
not there,
yeah.
some of the footwork, but like but I think we're gonna see that improve. On that note,
Childs is a weird one intermediate wise because when he is there and accurate with it, it looks amazing.
mhm,
But when he misses, it's wild misses.
yeah,
It's not even close.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so on that note, best deep ball. Mine was Sellers.
Yeah, I had Sellers as well, but I actually took it off because I didn't want to repeat because I have him later.
Oh
So
yeah,
I changed it to Talon Green just as a lower end guy where I like his deep ball.
okay,
I didn't want to put any of the top guys down that I
sure,
think are actual like starters in
yeah,
the NFL. I wanted to put a guy that I think's a developmental guy, so I went with Green
yeah,
because the next one is best out of structure,
yeah.
and I have Sellers there.
So I also have Sellers for best on the move out of structure. I also had Sellers for best deep ball, but I put Aiden Childs as my backup for that one option. I think he's probably better at the deep ball right now than he is the intermediate because again, there are those misses. The deep ball, there aren't as many misses, and again, the ones that hit look amazing. And then best out on the move out of structure again, Sellers, but I've had to pick another one. It was actually Taylor Green. And again, a lot of that is the running. If I maybe I'm trying to think of maybe a lower guy that I guess my other one I keep coming back to him, but Josh Hoover or Luke Altmaier, that would be another one. I think he's underrated in that aspect. Again, guy that I just think is going to be a pretty solid backup for a long time. Has a lot of good stuff, but again, not a lot of elite stuff, I would guess. So yeah, Altmaier best out of structure. Or maybe Jalen Daniels, but that's just like incredible athletic abilities. So that's kind of cheating too. All right, well, that's all we got. We talked about probably like 25, upwards of 25 quarterbacks, and covered a wide gamut of where guys are going to be drafted. Anybody that we didn't get to that piqued your interest?
Not really. I mean, I wanted to try to get eyes on Holstein, but and Johnson as well. I just
Johnson
didn't get a
being
chance. Kansas State, Avery Johnson.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I think both of those will need to go back. One guy I'll be interested in this year is Joey Aguilar, who transferred from App State to UCLA and now to Tennessee in the Nico trade. I think it kind of as where Nico was, like I said, I liked him better as like this kind of boot play action quarterback and maybe not the best fit for that system. Actually, I feel like Aguilar could be better fit for that system because it's a little more predetermined. He doesn't have to work outside of structure as much, which is a bit of an issue for him with turnovers. Yeah. But so I'm just not sure. But like, that could go a lot of different ways with him. So yeah.
Yeah. As for this class again, I think this is a better class than last year, but I don't necessarily think it's some special class. It's fine. I'm hoping that somebody steps up and cements themselves as QB1, but as of right now, I don't really think there's that guy. I think for me, I think there's a few guys that I would be fine with in the first round, and there's a few guys I would be fine with in the second. And after that, I just think it's a lot of developmental guys. I don't really love anybody in this class at the moment. Like, watching some of the O line for last week had me in love with some of the 2027 class, especially with Arch probably being in that as well. I think that's going to be a fantastic class, but I'm not there with this class. I really think it's okay. What do you think about the class as a whole, Mitch?
I think outside of the not really having the for sure number one guy, I think it's a better stratified. I don't know if that's the right word, but a more logical progress. It's a bigger progression, not even bigger, but just how we get from rounds 2 to 3 to 4. Like there's a lot more guys, and it's kind of a logical ranking. Like we start seeing guys transform from like very high level starter or possibly high level starters with tools to decent starters because they have a little bit of tools but not a ton. Then not really have the tools, but they're smart, good players. Well, and then we get lower and lower, but there isn't like there aren't big gaps anywhere. I don't think. Aside from again not having the top guy, but it's not like we're falling from 2 years ago when we had the guys in the first round and then had to wait until like Spencer Rattler or even this past
no,
year.
it's definitely like there's definitely more players that I can see being drafted in the top 5 rounds than there has been in a long time.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But again, I just think we're really missing the top guy. Like if you slot in just a Cam Lord or someone like that, if someone can develop like that, I think this is a really good class again because the difference between this year and last year, for me, another big difference is there's multiple guys I'm already comfortable with in the first round. And I think there's a couple more guys that I can see developing into first round players. So I think if I really see 7 guys realistically that have a chance to make it into the first round depending on how they develop this year. I think my top 5, I think Childs and I think Manning, depending on development this year.
I would agree with that.
I could see those 7 guys hitting into the first round this year, which is a lot more than we had in the summer last year.
Oh yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that.
And that is all for us this week at the Truly NFL Draft Podcast. We will be back next week to do our summer scouting for the interior defensive line class.